We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our hosts.
So I am Raven.
I'm Doc.
Chad's here.
And Rogue's in the house.
Sweet.
So, do we have a paranormal junk drawer or anything, Raven?
We do, and I love this paranormal junk drawer. As I rattled around and reached in and moved everything around in the junk drawer, I found a man. His name is Louis Montand, and he is a very wealthy French property developer at the turn of the 19th century, so from the 19th to the 20th. He died in 1905. And he had built this really, really fancy, beautiful mansion. And he built the mansion on top of an old, like the ruins of a castle from the 1600s of the Bourbon family. And the Bourbon family in France is where all of the current kings that we know of, King Louis and all the Louis, there's a million of them. That's the family line that they came through. So he builds this mansion on a ruined castle from those people.
Okay.
We'll come back to that. Just remember that. He actually bequeathed this mansion to the city administration in his will. It's like, when I die, I want my mansion to go to the city, and I want you to preserve it just how it is, kind of as a time capsule. I want people to see, 100, 200 years from now, I want people to see what life was like as a bourgeois Frenchman in in the early 1900s. I mean, I'm sure he didn't know exactly when he was going to die. But he wanted it to be a museum because he was obsessed with time. He was kind of obsessed with death and time, like how time passed. And he could see, hey, things, in the 1900s, he's thinking, I can tell that things are, state of the art now compared to the 1500s. What are things going to be like 200-300 years from now? So he wanted it kind of kept as a time capsule. And the city didn't necessarily say, we're going to lock this down and no one's going to go in. Just no one happened to go in for 110 years. They opened it up in 2016, I think, and it was locked down in 1905. So not quite 110 years. But no one went in. And the interesting thing is, even when France was occupied by the German forces during World War II, they didn't even go in. I mean, nobody has gone inside this building for 110 years. It's been shuttered, windows closed, doors locked. Nobody's gone in. They decided, we're going to go ahead and open it. And they were actually able to, the man who did a YouTube video on it, if you want to see this YouTube video, it's called French Mansion Unlocked After 110 Years. There's two parts. The first is kind of some history behind it. The second is a walkthrough. And kind of the rumor going around town was that this guy, and I don't know why, I don't know if he was creepy, they didn't go into that, but the town thought that it was locked up because he had a whole bunch of skeletons hidden there. And so they thought that's why it's all locked up. It was big. They thought, oh, he's got skeletons in all these rooms. And I'm thinking, ooh, skeletons in his closet. So
literally.
He died at age 54. He didn't have any kids. He was not married. And he only lived in the mansion for about 8 years. The Bourbon family, if you research them at all, any royalty in that time is just going to be full of scandal and, all the stuff that, so there's going to be some energy there. But apparently in this castle, Queen Margot, or Margot, I don't know how you say it, Margot, she was quite the character. She actually was quite a good lady, but she was very intelligent for the late 1500s, early 1600s era. She was politically savvy, and sometimes she would side against the king, and he didn't like that. And they describe her as a woman of many letters, which I think is
learned
degrees. And she was actually very highly schooled and very smart. She was also extremely generous, but they painted her as being incestuous and like a pedophile and having they really painted her when she would go against this other. I'm not trying to recount all of French history for you, just FYI. But she would go against the king in some of his political moves, and she was high enough up because she was a queen, for heaven's sakes. And then she was sterile, so she couldn't she couldn't have any babies. And so she finally got granted a divorce because kings want babies, right? So that they can keep their kingly line going. But she would kind of fight against the the politics of the time anyway, she got kind of shamed. But I just think with all of this kind of intrigue going on where this mansion's built, there's some energy there. Definitely some energy. So they open it up. It actually, no skeletons.
Boo.
There is a skull that they show, but whether it's a real skull or not, I don't know. It didn't say. But the interesting thing is he had some cabinets of curiosities, is what they call it.
The owner did.
The owner did. And in there were 2 stuffed frogs fighting a duel. It's kind of like this panorama. It's under like this glass ball.
Do they show it to you when you're on YouTube?
They do.
Really?
It's in both videos. In the second video, it's kind of awesome because there's one frog that's like standing up with a sword, and then the other one's like laying down on its back. And in the video, they do kind of this CGI blood dripping out of him. It's a little creepy.
This sounds like the kind of crap rich people would spend money on.
Right?
Just saying.
Oh, it gets
Nothing
better.
else better to do?
It gets better. He also has a rat playing a violin,
Great.
and he's got like jars of snakes floating in oil.
Because why not?
Exactly. Why not? He also had, snakes in jars and skulls. It was kind of creepy. Some creepy stuff in there. There was a room that had pink amour wallpaper on it, and they say he had a friend who was having an ongoing affair with a married woman, and that's where they would go to hang out. And there's a painting of a winking woman, and this is apparently another reference to this clandestine love affair of this woman that's winking at you. Kind of an interesting place. I would love to go ghost hunt there.
Could be fun.
Let's plan a trip.
Because, it's been closed up for 110 years. You know that there's going to be ghosts there anyway. Okay, it's in the middle of France. It's on top of ruined castle areas. There's dueling frogs and stuffed mice and snakes. And then
Perfect.
any spirits that are going to be in there, they're going to be like, this is our house, because literally there's no one else in here. And so they're hardcore thinking it's their place. And so I want to go there. But I highly suggest that y'all go and look at this YouTube video. Again, it's called French Mansion Unlocked After 110 Years. It's fascinating. They don't have very many pictures of like right when they opened it. The guy who put the YouTube video together said he asked for them and couldn't get them. There's a couple, but they do show a walkthrough in video 2, and it's really pretty. It's really cool. And
So is it a
haunted.
museum now then?
I believe so. You can walk through it, but you just can't get pictures of right when they opened it. They did say there was tons of bugs and like threadbare carpets, and the wallpaper was falling off. So I'm sure it wasn't very pretty when they first opened the doors.
Right.
But the stuffed frogs and rat are still there.
Perfect. That's all I care about.
And snakes in jars.
Perfect.
So there you go.
All right. And lastly, get your Supernatural Hour swag at advanceparanormal.com. Go to the merchandise tab and get all sorts of things. T-shirts, mugs,
I have a tapestry now.
tapestries.
So now I need to see if there's hats on there. If there's not, I'm going to add them.
I'm pretty sure there's hats.
Because I think I need a hat now. I've got a
Okay.
tapestry. I can't want that now.
Okay. So anyway, go out there, get your Supernatural Hour swag through our page on advanceparanormal.com.
Stay spooky, my haunty friends. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at advanceparanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin network found at radioronin.com. Copyright 2021 by Advanced Paranormal Services.